When I was in my junior year of high school, I started a philosophy club. The aim of the club was to sort of gather a circle of students that would actively meet up at least once every 2 weeks and discuss some basic philosophical principles that they could later apply to their life. So the club naturally had a very big focus on Stoicism, or the philosophy that there is a circle of things that are within your control, there's a circle of things that are outside of your control. And your effort is best spent on the things that are within your control because they directly affect the things that are outside of your control. So let's say that you're trying to become famous. That's not necessarily within your control. You cannot convince a mass amount of people to like you because at the end of the day, it is their decision. But if you put in the work and you work hard, then something that is within your control, which is the effort that you put in, will illuminate the possibility of you becoming famous. Now that's just one example. It could vary from anything from trying to impress someone to trying to get to a certain path in life that's not necessarily carved out for you. Focusing on the things that you can control, the amount of effort that you put in, and the choices that you make often determine the things that are not within your realm of control. And Stoicism practically preaches that you should not care essentially about the things that you can't affect. And it is a practical philosophy in all means, but it's something that has been misinterpreted as it blew up. There have been a lot of these AI generated like Stoic quotes on TikTok and on YouTube, and it's sort of worn out its appeal. Much like the entire genre of self-improvement that I originally started my YouTube channel in, where a guy sits in front of you, in front of a camera, pretending that it is you. The irony here, right? And essentially tells you how to improve your life. A lot of people just binge these videos. They aren't necessarily something that helps them. And the same thing has really happened to philosophy, not only throughout the last few years that it's become more and more discussed on social media, such as YouTube and TikTok, but just in general, throughout the few decades and even centuries that we have been able to print and write books and have this dialectic discourse. It has fallen out of fashion because there are a lot of idiots out there who like to discuss things for the sense of discussing things. There's no greater goal. There is no field to apply this to. They just like talking about things for the sake of talking about them. And we've seen this accelerate with the education system. As more and more people are going to university, there is a higher and higher amount of individuals that think, well, if I just get smart enough, I'll get ahead in life, I'll get a higher paying job, and then I'll be great. There is very little value in knowledge unless it can be applied. If you're a nerd, as in if you read a lot of books, and you feel very well educated about a certain topic or a certain number of topics, as a lot of people who deem themselves logical and able to tackle these issues too, that doesn't necessarily make you powerful. In fact, the more shit you have in your head, the weaker you are, because your ideas for the world are not necessarily set in a certain direction. If you're constantly wondering about the meaning of things, you will never find a direction or a purpose in life. That is what has happened to a lot of these philosophy circles. There's one particularly that I want to focus on in this video, which is the circle that most commonly discusses accelerationism, or EAC. So effective accelerationism. There's a number of theorians, I guess would be the proper term, within this circle who have put out a lot of work. And a lot of it is fascinating because it can be applied vertically. It is something that you can put into use in the application. One of these philosophers is Nick Land. The other is Mark Fisher, who has now sadly passed away. Mark Fisher is someone who I wanted to interview for my podcast a while back, but unfortunately, a couple days after I first wrote to him, it was announced that he had passed away due to suicide. So, very unfortunate. And I still hope to this date that my email was, God forbid, because of that. These two English philosophers have made a large impact on the circle of accelerationism. which originally started with the book Capitalism and Schizophrenia, which was written by two French specialists, one in philosophy and dialectics and the other in psychiatry and psychology. They have sort of combined those fields to create a greater theory that increasing the pace of technological development is a net benefit to the human race and can solve major issues such as poverty and slow decline of Western living conditions. And many in EOC actually consider this to be the cure to modernity, or the slow rot of things as we've seen them, that trying to revert to a past traditionalist, strictly traditionalist ideal, we should instead work to accelerate technological growth, because eventually the systems that are insufficient will collapse in on themselves and will no longer be deemed necessary, as is largely the case in capitalism, where we discard old things in favor of new ones once the new ones prove more beneficial. And some in the accelerationist circles actually think that capitalism itself will eventually be thrown away, much like elements of capitalism. Fisher actually suggested that everything is part of this capitalist conundrum, and that true socialism simply cannot be imagined due to the extent that capital has shaken the world. And that gives you a lot to think about. But if you lock yourself in a room and you just read this theory, and you ponder and you ponder and you ponder over it, you lose all sight of realpolitik. You lose all sight of where the practical applications of this lie. There is nothing to be gained in sitting in a room and talking about philosophy with other men while your wife is getting pounded in the other room. There's nothing to be gained there. You've effectively just lost out on that time and that effort and that efficiency, because as you were sitting there, the world kept spinning. And while you were not influencing that world, while you were not present, conditions changed. And soon enough, you're going to look around yourself and you're going to think, while I was not paying attention, stuff went on around me that I had no influence over. Or even worse yet, you'll be one of those idiots that will be looking around and being like, wait, when did everything fall apart? While you were sitting in your room scrolling on Wikipedia because you wanted more knowledge. This quest for knowledge, for fake dialectics, for science, has obstructed so many people from just the base theories that has attracted so many to Stoicism. Why did Stoicism blow up on TikTok, on your YouTube? Because a lot of people just needed to be told there is a certain amount of things in your daily life that you can influence. You shouldn't worry about all this other shit. You should not worry about it. There are very little things in life that actually matter. Focus on those. A lot of people needed to be told that, because there are so many distractions in the modern world, just needed to be said. And when they heard that message, they became fascinated by it. But the unfortunate truth is, a lot of those people end up diving headfirst into philosophy, and they get lost in it. It doesn't provide them with any net benefit anymore. I wanted to make this video journal longer, but I don't necessarily see the point in that. If you enjoyed this one, please subscribe to the channel and I shall make more. This is like my third attempt at video journaling, so I'm not sure how long or how consistently this will last. But yeah, March 31st, 2024. Let's go. Thank you for watching.